Enoch walked with the Elohim, walked with the powerful ones, to translate it. And then he was not, because the powerful ones took him away.
The Book of Enoch, Mamiwata, and Alien Abductions. In 1984, a 26-year-old woman appeared on the beach of Anloga, a coastal town in the Kita district of the Volta region of Ghana, West Africa. When she walked into her family home, her relatives embraced her with joy and confusion. She had been missing for 3 years. Her family was full of questions. Why had she vanished? Where had she gone? And what had happened to her in the intervening years? The story the young woman told them left her family worried and confused. The young woman explained that she had been kidnapped while walking on the beach and taken to a community far away where she had been held captive. She had lived among her captors for 3 years and in that time had been forced to bear children. But the most shocking part of the young woman's story was still to come. Her family pressed her to tell them where she had been living, why she hadn't been able to contact them, and who had taken her. Finally, she told them. She had been taken from the beach to an underwater base. The people had taken her in order for her to produce children. And most disturbing of all, the people who had taken her were not human. They were the Mamiwata people.
The Mamiwata people are described as very beautiful, often female, and they abduct people near the water's edge. Now you might think, well, that just sounds like some kind of a cautionary tale to tell the young men to behave and not be tempted, or to stay safe and not go near the water. And in particular, what intrigues me is this narrative of abductions, which goes back thousands upon thousands of years.
The origins of the Book of Enoch are rooted in the Hebrew tradition. Scholars generally agree that the various parts of the Book of Enoch were authored in the 2nd and 3rd centuries BCE. The writing may have encapsulated an oral tradition going even further back in history. The book is titled with the name of Enoch. According to the Book of Genesis, Enoch was the father of Methuselah, who was the father of Lamech, who was the father of Noah.
Enoch is probably the world's first abductee, albeit probably a willing one. If I read about Enoch in the Book of Genesis, I'll find him in chapter 5, where it says this: Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more, because God took him away. My book, Escaping from Eden, argues that that's actually a mistranslation. The text is about the Elohim. The word Elohim often gets translated as God, but it is a plural form word, and it takes plural verbs. So the way that text really reads is that Enoch walked with the Elohim, walked with the powerful ones, to translate it. And then he was not, because the powerful ones took him away. Now that's in effect a summary of the story of Enoch from the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch unpacks what walking with the powerful ones meant, and unpacks it in astonishing detail.
The Book of Enoch comprises several works. In the Book of Watchers, Enoch tells the story of human females being abducted and impregnated by beings who arrive on Earth from their stations in the sky. It goes on to describe the writer's journeys through the cosmos, discovering truths previously hidden from humanity concerning other dimensions. The Book of Parables speaks more of Enoch's journeys and speaks of God's judgment of the Watchers and plans for humanity. It holds out the promise of a heavenly Messiah. In the Book of Heavenly Luminaries, Enoch is shown around the galaxy by an entity called Uriel. Whether through a physical journey, or astral travel, or simple tutelage, Uriel instructs him in astronomy and the laws of the cosmos. Enoch describes what he has been shown on the basis of his geocentric worldview, in which he pictured the earth as flat and covered by a dome-like canopy. It is in those terms that he interprets what he is being shown. And yet the motif of a human being shown astronomy by an advanced being finds echoes elsewhere in the Hebrew tradition. The prophet Ezekiel describes his experience in more physical terms. The prophet Ezekiel reports an experience of being picked up in a flying craft. In his experience, a human-like pilot flies him around various cities of ancient Iraq before finally depositing him in Tel Aviv. In the past, scholars have assumed that Ezekiel was describing a vision. But might the writer have been describing something real and material, something that today we would call an alien abduction?
Now, Ezekiel doesn't describe this as a vision. He says where he was when this craft appeared and picked him up, where it flew him, the places he saw, and where he was dropped off, and the state he was in after he had been dropped off. He said he was so disoriented he couldn't speak for a further 7 days. And it's kind of amusing because all the time he's being flown around, the pilot, who he describes as, he was like a human being, he was like a son of man. The pilot is trying to talk to Ezekiel about religion and politics, but all the while Ezekiel is fascinated by the craft that he's in. He's describing what he's seeing and hearing. All the time he's looking around saying, this thing is amazing, this metal, what is this metal? It's so shiny. How do these wheels work? This glass canopy, I've never seen anything like that. And what is that roaring sound every time we move? He's trying to get his head around the craft that he's being carried in, which he describes as Yahweh's habitation or as the glory, because he has no other language with which to describe it. The modern eye and the modern ear, we see and hear his report. I think we have a pretty shrewd idea what he's describing.
The claims of the book of Ezekiel find support in other ancient literature. Flying and spacefaring craft are described in the Hindu texts of the Bhagavad Gita. Similar craft are depicted in the ancient wall art of Egypt and Mesoamerica. In the book of Enoch, the writer describes journeys which take him far beyond those of Ezekiel and even far beyond our solar system.